here we are, still talking about how to get a customer to wear a mask. Here we are, still dealing with the virus. I know we all thought we would be done with this and we would not have to talk about social distancing and sanitizer and enforcing mask requirements. But yet, here we are. Today, I am doing a different kind of video. Most of my teaching right here on the channel, as my regular viewers and my subscribers know, most of my teaching is geared to interactions with customers over the phone, chat, and email. But I also do a lot of work with companies who are interacting with customers in person. I work with museums and libraries, theaters, and retail, a lot of medical offices, places where the front line finds themselves having to enforce a mask policy. We're talking about front desk receptionists or ushers in theaters, greeters in stores, in libraries, people who are not part of the security team, usually not part of management. And I get a lot of questions about how do we talk about a mask policy. And people know how to talk about it. We want to be anti-inflammatory. We don't want to battle. We don't want a physical fight. We have all seen what's happening in the airline industry. My sister is a flight attendant, and I take that really seriously. When I take it personally, I should say, when I see a fight on an airline, in the air, in a closed compartment. And it's also difficult if we are in a theater with the lights down and the curtains open up and someone removes their mask. It is difficult. So in this video, I am taking the top questions that I have received from you, those of you who are interacting face-to-face with customers, and I am answering them, walking you through exactly how to diplomatically, in an anti-inflammatory way, bring down the temperature and guide customers to the next steps, even in the most difficult interactions. All of that coming up. All right, let's get right into the questions. The questions I'm answering for you are actual questions I have received from you, from my clients, from my subscribers, from my viewers, people who are serving customers, obviously face to face. And so here are my best answers to how to handle these challenging situations in such a way that you are anti-inflammatory, you bring the temperature down, or you keep the temperature down, and you keep things positive and professional. Our first question is, why do you require masks? And this is speaking specifically to communities where there's not a mask mandate, not a citywide or a county mandate, but yet in your facility there is a mandate. This might be a museum, a medical office, library. There are many places of business, as you well know, that still require a mask mandate. So how do you answer this without, getting into a conflict, without causing a scene, without things going further? My approach is to make it all about safety. I would say something like, we've missed our customers and we're thrilled to be back open. We will take all precautions to protect our customers and team members. This question came specifically for one of my clients in the theater industry, Broadway theater, and they are reopening. As you know, theaters have really been shut down for the longest, one of the longest industries to be closed, and they're beginning to reopen. And this is wonderful to say, we've missed you, and we want to be able to continue to serve you and to see you, and to do that, we have to take all precautions. So you keep it positive if that is the question. All right, next question. Why do you have photos of people in mask when you don't have a mask requirement? Now look at this. There may be cases where on your website, in your social media, or posters in your facility, you show customers and staff wearing masks. And let's just be real, there will be customers who will question that, and they're looking for a conflict. They have an agenda. How do you answer that question without taking the bait, without going there with your customer? One approach would be, while we don't currently require masks, we encourage customers to wear face masks. You may continue to see covers in our images while we're promoting safety precautions for our customers and our staff. Look at that. You don't take the bait. You just give a transparent answer. That is the best way to encourage that, because I think we're going to see images for quite some time until we know for sure we are out of the pandemic. Next question. You have a mask requirement, yet I just saw a post of someone at your facility who wasn't wearing a mask. Now, this is going to happen a lot. And depending on your industry, you're going to have to be prepared, your industry, your business, prepared to answer this one. I knew this was coming based on something in my own experience. In July, I took my family to Antelope Canyon. It was a nice vacation. We went to Grand Canyon, Las Vegas, and we went to Antelope Canyon, which is a canyon on the Navajo Nation, Navajo Indian Reservation. And tribes make their own rules. And in the Navajo Nation, whatever you do at Navajo Nation, at the time that I went, which was July, face masks were required. So if you went to a gas station at Navajo Nation, if you were in one of the canyons, whatever you did, outdoors or indoors, outdoors, you had to wear a mask. And so we went to this beautiful Antelope Canyon, one of the most beautiful places I've ever been. And I couldn't wait to capture images. But every image of me and my family, you see me here with my son and my mother, we're wearing our masks because it was a requirement. The requirement was so clear that if you remove them for any reason, if you want to take a drink, which if you did, you'd have to figure that out with your mask because you were not allowed to remove them. No exceptions for religious reasons, medical, or strongly held beliefs. So we wore our mask. Now, there was a group of people that we met up with who we met there, and we were on this 2-day tour, who also took pictures at this very same spot at Antelope Canyon. And the lady and her son that was with us posted a photo in this exact spot without their mask on. It was the same day, I know they had their masks. Let me just say that. I know they wore masks because we were on the tour together. I know that photo, they were wearing masks. And how do I know? I took their photo. Yet, when we get back, and I see that photo on Facebook and many photos from that day, that tour, they were not wearing masks. And I know that it had to be Photoshop because when I took this particular photo that I saw posted, they were wearing a mask. And I share all that with you to say, we don't know, what people are doing. Did they really remove their mask? Is it Photoshop? But yet, if your customer is saying, wait a minute, I've seen people without a mask, you have to be prepared to answer that. So here's how I would answer that question based on my real experience of masks being worn and photoshopped out of the image. It isn't easy to know if the image was before or after our mask mandate without seeing the photo metadata. Our mask mandate is clear. Masks must be worn in public places at all times, except when actively eating or drinking. So what you want to do here is give the benefit of the doubt because you don't know what actually happened. We're not going to assume someone is lying or assume we know when the photo was taken. So that is a really good approach, and then just remind people in your answer of what your mask policy is. All right. A customer puts on their mask but later removes it. And I'm seeing that a lot. So how do you handle that? That's not a question. It is like, how do I approach it? So we're going a little bit deeper now. How do you handle that? This was one that really came up strongly for my theater clients, they wear the mask in the lobby, but when they're seated, lights go down, curtains open, and they've removed their mask. How does an usher approach this situation? And that is tough. Same thing if they're walking around your store, in your library. How do you handle this? First of all, you need to have clear, unambiguous signage that states that anyone not wearing a mask will be escorted off the premises. If that is, for example, your policy. So whatever that policy is, that needs to be clear. It needs to be posted, on a fourth grade reading level. Anyone reading that can understand quite clearly what your policy is. And I suggest we add to that, you use my 3R de-escalation method. Now, you may not be familiar with my 3R method if you're watching me for the first time. This is a 3-step method to help you bring down the temperature in interactions. And let's look at how I would approach this very tough situation using the 3R de-escalation method. My 3R de-escalation method is 3 super simple steps: recognize, reframe, and resolve. If you want to know more about that method, I'll put a link down below for more information there. But approach this by first recognizing the customer's concern. This is my empathy step, recognizing the inconvenience. And so I might say, we realize wearing a mask is inconvenient. One sentence, a genuine expression of empathy. Then we move right into reframing. Reframing is to get the customer, to look at the situation differently. I would say, for the safety of those around you and our employees, we need you to put your mask on over your nose and your mouth, making it crystal clear by what we mean by wearing your mask, meaning it can't be worn around your chin or your neck. And you're positive, you are concise in your language here. Resolve is the final step. In my 3R method, resolve doesn't necessarily mean a successful resolution. Resolve might mean I am guiding you to the next steps, or I am explaining what happens or our expectations. It is me managing expectations. In a perfect world, it is resolution, but we're not in a perfect world, so it may or may not be resolution. But you will, at the very least, make your expectations clear and guide to the next steps. Here, I would say, if you're not able to wear a mask or choose not to do so, I need you to leave the store. You can come with me. That's if they choose not to comply at that point. You can come with me, or we can get security to escort you out. So this is a tougher one, right? But we have to be ready for that and use that verbiage or adapt it to be a good fit for your business and your situation. When face coverings become political, and and I know that's exactly what it is. It is a political statement for many. And it's really sad. If I walk around with a mask, I'm fully vaccinated, and I still wear a mask in certain situations, I know that people are looking at me and saying automatically, based on my mask, that she's a Democrat or she's an independent. People, they think they know, but we don't know for sure. And it's not just the knowing, it is how people treat you and how they react. So what do you do when someone makes wearing a mask political? I had a teacher ask me that just this week. In a school that does not have a mask mandate, what if the student makes it political based on their parents' beliefs or their beliefs? How do I handle that? And so we've all dealt with it, I'm sure. So let's talk about how you might handle that. What I told the teacher, and I prefaced it by saying, you're a teacher, so you already know this, but both of my parents are retired educators. I know the approach of a teacher would naturally be appropriate because you just know that. But my advice is avoid inflammatory words. Don't say anything that would, that your customer would grab onto and make it bigger than it is. And when I say inflammatory words, I'm not going to mention a president. I'm not going to say red or blue. None of that. In fact, I tell people don't even mention COVID, pandemic. Use make the focus, I should say, around safety. It's for your safety and for our safety, because I just don't want to go there. So I would avoid inflammatory words, and I would use the 3R method. That again is recognize, reframe, resolve. In this situation, I might say, I can appreciate your perspective. That if someone's, goes there, makes it political, or they tell me that it's infringing on their personal rights, wherever they go, I can appreciate your perspective. Now, that doesn't mean you have to agree with it or even understand it. I didn't say I understand it. I can appreciate that. All right. So that is anti-inflammatory. That is showing empathy regardless of what you believe. Then you go right into reframing. Many of our customers feel as you do. Yet, we require masks for the safety of our customers and employees. I was intentional with this first sentence. Many of our customers feel as you do. I want to, in this situation, to protect you from getting into a verbal altercation or a long drawn out conversation, and certainly protect you from anything physical. So I'm mindful of that in every one of these steps. And if you show that person that you're not the only one, and so that they don't feel odd or like an outlier, I want them to feel that sense of community to give them hopefully what they need to bring down their own temperature. So when we start with, I can appreciate your perspective, and then you go with, many of our customers feel as you do, yet we do require a mask, and we do that for your safety and for ours. And then finally, we move to resolve, which is again, in the perfect world of resolution, they just walk away and accept your answer. But at the very least, again, it is explaining your expectations and guiding to the next steps. To enter the store, you'll need to wear a mask. If you choose not to wear a mask, we ask that you come back when we no longer have a mask mandate. And I hope you're picking up my tone here. You want to be friendly and anti-inflammatory and unassuming. Also, I would add to that, always direct customers to your written mask policy. I assume and hope that you have a mask policy posted on the front doors and throughout the store and on your website, so that you don't have to get into things with the customer. You can, for further information, here's our mask policy. So it's posted. They are able to read that. And how do you direct them to your mask policy? As you're pointing to it, for anyone who has questions on our policy, it's posted in full on our website or on all of our entry and exit doors, wherever that is. We'll always take precautions and actions to protect our audiences and our staff. We're grateful for our customers. I have audience there because that was one of the phrases I wrote directly for my theater client that I mentioned earlier. So yeah, direct people to your policy. First of all, make sure that it's posted, and then just that's the lead in for anyone who has questions. All right. Enforcing a mask policy when the immediate community, city, county, state, etc., does not have a mask mandate, but the venue has a mask mandate. How do we handle that? That is always tough. And but you can do it. I say always, like we've always been in this pandemic, but that can be a challenge. And it's a challenge that you can handle. I mentioned earlier going to Navajo Nation. If you go to a gift shop, gas station, an outdoor event on Navajo Nation, you will wear a mask policy. But as soon as you get off of Navajo Nation, was in Arizona, is actually. And when I was in Arizona, there was no mask mandate for states or the state or city that I was aware of. So that would be the same situation. So this is a really good example. The Navajo Nation has a very strict, well-written mask policy. Again, that's at the time of the recording of this video. Let me read you their policy. The Navajo Reservation has a mask mandate. Everyone age 2 years and above will wear a mask while on the Navajo reservation, no matter if you've been vaccinated. That cannot be clearer. Now, I know the people watching this video, you're probably not writing the mask policy, but you can refer people to your policy, and I hope that it is as clear. If you cannot and or refuse to wear a mask, we kindly ask you come back. When the Navajo Nation does not have a mask mandate, it is imperative that we all cooperate with the rules of Navajo Nation. When your policy is that clear, you just direct the people to your mask mandate. I don't need to talk to you about what is happening in the city of Page or the state of Arizona. It's about what's going on here, and I can direct you to that policy. And I would say, as I wrap this section up, is you've got to have a clear mask policy. And Navajo Nations, that was clear. That is about as clear as you can get. If you're over 2 years old, you're going to have to wear a mask. It doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. When the policy is clear like that, it is easy for frontline employees to enforce it. So if you happen to be watching this and you write the policy, just make sure you are as clear. Now, you can have a mask policy that is not as clear or as strict as Navajo Nation. You can have exemptions, and that is really common. My son is a senior in high school, and this week, September 15th, 2021, his school went to a mask mandate. Okay, when we started school, they did not have to wear masks, but they did go to a mask mandate this week. And they have exemptions for medical, religious, or strongly held personal reasons. And that is very different from the Navajo policy, very clear that you will wear a mask or you're not going to be here. But my son's school, the week before the mandate went in effect, parents were sent a letter by email, and they alerted us by phone, text, and email. And everyone would wear masks beginning September 15th. But if you had an exception, there was a link to a form you could fill out. And you click the link, and I clicked it because I help my clients with mask mandates. I had no problem with my son wearing his mask, but I wanted to see how the exemptions worked. So there was a one-page online form, student name, ID, etc. And then you have 3 categories: religious, medical, or strongly held beliefs. That was actually an exemption reason. So if you click religion, you don't ask people what their religion is or what the problem is. You can just click it and you're done. Medical, they did ask on the form what that medical condition was. And then the third and final category was strongly held beliefs. I'm shocked that was an option, yet it was. So you could click strongly held beliefs and you didn't even have to explain it. And I found that very interesting. And what I think the district intended to do was that, we've all seen, at least in the United States, school board meetings and parents getting upset when there's a mask mandate to the point of fighting on live camera. I believe my son's district wanted to avoid all of that. All right. And so they just said, okay, we have a mask mandate effective September 15th, 2021, but you can get an exemption. You fill out that form and you hit submit. It's on file. And the teachers in class don't ask you about it, according to my son. You just show up and you wear a mask or you don't. So I was asking my son, like, how many students are wearing masks? And he said, well, out of a class of 30, before the mask mandate, I might see 8 people out of 30 wearing a mask. With the mask mandate, with all these exemptions, it may be like 12 to 15. Like half the people have some type of exemption. So you think about the kind of policy you want. You want it to be firm like the Navajo Nation, or do you want it to be kind of anti-inflammatory, easy, up to your interpretation, up to your choice? So that's up to you. But once you have that policy, make it easy for employees, because now I'm speaking to the people who write it, make it easy for your employees to point to the policy, easy for them to enforce the policy. Thank you for taking the time to listen to my ideas and guidance on how to navigate through this unprecedented and difficult time. Please like my video if you found this helpful. If you are not already a subscriber, I invite you to subscribe so you are always the first to know when I release a new video. Until next time.